Hey there, it's Andrea, and welcome to the Voice of Influence podcast. This morning, I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw a story that came up. There was actually a comedian, a mom who said she's a mom of Gen Z. And I wish I could tell you who it was. I don't know, and I can't go back and find it now, but as I'm sitting down to record this episode, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was such a great example. This comedian was saying that she's a mom of Gen Z, and that's the last one, the last generation, because, there's no more letters after Gen Z. And then she said how hard it is. She was talking. It's way more funny to listen to her say it. I really wish I could point you to it. If I find it, I will definitely drop it in the show notes. But anyway, she was talking about how hard it is to be a parent to Gen Z because, with the continent of plastic in the ocean and Hawaii just burned down and the potential of a world war, climate change, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, yeah, it's really easy to say, hey, kid, you need to do your homework because it matters. When the world seems like it's on fire, it does make the mundane feel really pointless. We've been studying Gen Z for the last few months and talking to people who are in Gen Z, to people who study Gen Z, people who work with Gen Z, people who parent Gen Z, teach, manage, et cetera, et cetera. Gen Z, if you're not aware, at this point, they are about mid-20s, we'll just say, and go down to junior high or just going into high school. So it's emerging workforce that is coming and here, and I tell you what, they have experienced things that are so different than what we've experienced. And truly, every generation has experienced something different. We all come to our adult years with a different perspective because of the things that we experienced. And I think I was amused by that comedian's take on Gen Z and parenting Gen Z. And at the same time, it rings with a lot of truth. There are a lot of kids that are super struggling right now. It's not just kids, young adults, everybody's struggling. Like there's a lot of struggle out there, right? But the reason why we're looking at Gen Z, a voice of influence, is because we're concerned about how companies are going to integrate them into the workforce, how they're going to pass on leadership, transfer knowledge. How is this transition going to go? Because quite frankly, they're a lot different than we are. And they're concerned about different things. And one of the trends that we're seeing is this perception of older people about Gen Z that they don't have the same work ethic and they don't care as much as we care about the work. What's interesting is that we're also seeing that Gen Z is very clear about boundaries. They want to work to live, not live to work. They are very clear on that. And we're obviously talking in generalities here, but it is very, very clear that is something that's important to them. So while managers and maybe teachers, other people are feeling this frustration with Gen Z about what they're seeing, which is less energy for work, less interest in investing more, in increasing their engagement. At the same time, we're seeing that Gen Z is looking at their future saying, well, what kind of future do we really have? What kind of impact can I really make? And what is most important to me right now? So I'm Gen X and kind of the end of Gen X. And when I was growing up and entering those adult years, it really felt like the world was mine to conquer. There were so many possibilities. And now kids are coming into their adult years with a totally different perspective. They are coming into it with this experience of having lived through a pandemic, this experience of being bombarded by messages about how hard the world is, and messages that are polarizing on social media, on YouTube, on these places where they go to for information. They're getting these polarized messages where you have to pick a side. And so they're feeling like they have less possibility, less impact that they can really make. And they have to choose a side. And maybe it's best not to choose a side because they don't want to get in the middle of controversy. And when you pull out, when you're used to pulling out of controversy in order to sort of sustain your own safety, your own psychological safety, your own sense of comfort, you train yourself to pull out. You train yourself not to care too much, because if I care, I could get hurt. If I care and I take a stand for something, then it's inevitable that I'm going to get bombarded with different opinions or criticism about the way that I'm talking about something, or all kinds of things. So there are definitely still Gen Z kids. There are still kids that are out there that are willing to put themselves out there and to take a stand for whatever they believe in. But there's a lot of them that are holding back because they don't want to deal with that kind of pressure. Here's why I don't mind pushback and resistance from this generation. Because the people that are exhibiting resistance and are pushing back, they still have a fight in them. They still believe that somehow or another they can make an impact. They still believe that they have agency. People that hold back, toe the party line, or just stay out of controversy, it's completely understandable because they don't want to deal with it. So we have this interesting dynamic of kids that are becoming adults, moving into the workforce. We want them, company leaders want them to take initiative, to engage, to care, to stay around, to be innovative, to share their best ideas, to share their knowledge. And yet, they are coming from this place of feeling like if they do stick their neck out, it could get chopped off. That there is a lot of risk with putting themselves out there. There's a lot of risk with trying to lead, with taking a stand, with sharing your perspective. So my question is, what can leaders of companies do to encourage the younger generation to actually share their voice? How do we help Gen Z have a voice of influence? Number one, we can't put all responsibility on those people to figure this out for themselves. Every single one of us has had a mentor in our lives. Every single one of us has looked up to somebody else who has cared about us and given us wisdom, advice, set an example of some kind that helped us to find our way. The last thing that we should do is give up on Gen Z. I know this generation. I care about them. I see their friends. I see the kinds of things that they've been trying to deal with. I see the numbers when it comes to ER visits around psychiatric concerns, potential suicide attempts. I've seen the numbers when it comes to all the need around mental health. I've not just seen the numbers, I've known people. The last thing that we should do is give up on Gen Z. They need mentors. They need people to look up to. They need people who care enough about them to connect with them, to care about them, to draw them out, to listen to them. And after they feel safe with you, after they feel significant around you, then you can challenge them because they need to be challenged. They need to move out of that comfort zone. So whether you're working with somebody who pulls back, holds back, and you know they have more to offer, or you're working with someone who pushes back and resists, don't give up. The person who is in resistance, the person who pushes back, there's somebody who still has fight in them. Encourage the fight. They need that spark. What they need next is they need to understand that you care, that you understand who they are, and you start to draw them into alignment with the goals of the company, the goals that you're trying to achieve. But you have to care about them first. You can't look down on them, judge them, and then expect to have influence with them. It's the same for the people who are holding back and refusing to jump into a fight. They need the spark. They need to know that their voice matters. They need to not just know it in their head and hear somebody tell them that. They need to see the impact of the work that they do, of the things that they say. So acknowledging them and their impact is incredibly important. Helping them to understand and see their own credibility and build their own credibility is very important. I have a challenge for you. When you look at Gen Z, when you look at these people, remember that they are so capable. They are so knowledgeable and insightful. They have so much to offer. One of the most impactful things that you can do is care about them and connect with them. That's going to build influence with them. It's also going to help you to learn from them. They have a lot to offer you as well. And one of the ways that Voice of Influence can help is by training managers. This is your frontline opportunity to connect with, mentor, guide, draw in, retain, engage the younger generation. Integrate them into the workforce, influence them, and be influenced by them to make your company more adaptable to the changes that are here and the changes that are coming. Our manager training can be brought to your company, or you have a handful of managers, maybe one or two, that you would like to be trained, but you can't just afford to bring us in as a whole leadership development program or set up a whole leadership development program inside of your company. Our manager training program is one that we offer virtually in the spring and probably next fall as well. But right now we've got it going on in the spring. And as we are looking at the end of 2023 into 2024, we want to start letting you know about this opportunity to train your managers because it is so important that they are able to connect with Gen Z. It's not just Gen Z. This manager training program doesn't just target Gen Z, but it helps your managers to promote a collaborative learning culture where Gen Z feels comfortable and everyone else continues to learn and grow and adapt and make changes that are positive for themselves and positive for the company. It's an 8-week program that will be running in March and April of 2024, but signups begin in December and end a few weeks after that. So we encourage you to come to our website, voiceofinfluence.net/manager, and there you will find information about the manager program and you can sign people up. I'm excited about the mentors, the coaching, the skills and tools that we provide in this program because we so want your managers to have a voice of influence and to know how to draw out the voice of influence in others so that your company can be an influence in its market. So come to voiceofinfluence.net. Hopefully we'll see you soon.